Thanks for listening to the Business Spotlight podcast presented by the Lancaster Fairhope County Chamber of Commerce. I'm Logan Weaver, the marketing coordinator for the chamber. Thank you for tuning in. I've got Kristin, Glasure, CEO of Fairhope Hospice and Palliative Care, rejoining us here for the podcast today. Kristin, it's been a minute. How are you?
It has been a minute. I'm great. Thanks for having me, Logan.
So, Kristin, for those who don't know and maybe tuning in for the first time, tell us a little bit about Fairhope Hospice and Palliative Care.
All right, I'm glad to. So, obviously, I'm Kristin Glasure, the CEO at Fairhope. And it's Fairhope Hospice and Palliative Care. And we've had that name forever. But what's changed about that is we've really just kind of added some different pieces to that puzzle. So I think your listeners probably know us for the Pickering House, which is on 282 Sells Road. And that's just a great 12-bed inpatient unit for hospice patients. So it's a place for them to come maybe when they're end of life. It's a real short-term facility. It's not like a nursing facility. It's maybe 5 to 7 days. And it gives the family a chance just to be real close and spend time with their loved ones. Gives us a chance to make sure they're comfortable. The other thing we do there is we provide respite stays. So, as you know, when you're a caregiver for someone, that's very tiring. Sometimes you just need a break. You need a chance to take a shower, just to sleep, go to your own physician. So we have respite availability there for our hospice patients, it could be up to 5 nights a week. So the Pickering House is our kind of hidden gem there, and we service a lot of families in this community through the Pickering House.
I've got a lot of friends in the community whose family has benefited from Fairhope services. They've had a loved one who needed that end-of-life care, and Fairhope was there and didn't just help them to that finish line, if you will, but it made them comfortable. It made the whole family comfortable, made them at peace with everything. And I think that's the big thing, is caring for not just the patient itself, but the whole family as well.
Yeah, that is so important. You're right. This journey, it's just not about the patient. It's a holistic approach for the entire family. There are spiritual concerns sometimes. There's psychological, there's family concerns. Lots of families, they get along. But when there's a lot of trauma, they're facing this end-of-life care, things happen and people become stressed and anxious. And so our responsibility as nurses, social workers, physicians, aides, chaplains, we really try to support the entire family and just meet them where they are. Logan, I always tell the staff that we have one chance to do this right. And so it's really important to me that we just try to meet all those needs. No matter what they are, we try to meet that patient and their family where they are in this journey.
And I think a lot of people, they may hear the word hospice and immediately it's it is a somber word, on its own. But what you guys do, one of your catchphrases is to celebrate life. And so that kind of makes it a little bit more of a positive experience. Yes, you are, having to deal with that end-of-life circumstances, a very somber situation, but you guys choose to look at the positives and help comfort the patient, the families during a very difficult process in their life.
Yeah, you're right. I think here's the thing that I think people sometimes don't realize is that hospice care is not just for end-of-life care. So hospice care, technically it is when a patient's disease process follows its trajectory, the normal course, that it may lead them to have 6 months or less left to live. A lot of times we don't get calls until much later than that. But the important thing to know is that the only time that someone can come to our hospice services is if that terminal diagnosis is there and they've exhausted every other type of option that they've chosen to try. And maybe the physician says, we know that we can't cure this disease, but we want to keep you comfortable. We want to treat your family. And even after the death, we follow up with the survivors for 13 months just to make sure that they're okay.
Last year, you guys celebrated your 40th anniversary, and you do so as a nonprofit, which I think is a very key part of how you guys operate. Tell me how that sets you guys apart.
So obviously there are, as you know, many of the organizations that we serve on together, nonprofit versus for-profit. So in the hospice world, there are a lot of hospices. There are some that are nonprofit as well as those that are for-profit. When I think about what nonprofit means to me, it it really means people over profit. You know, the other thing that I tell our staff a lot is whatever that patient needs is what we're going to do for them. So, you know, the donations that you hear about and all the wonderful gifts that this community provides to Fairhope, all that money goes back into taking care of those patients. And, you know, I think really that is the difference is this, you know, we're very proud. We've been in this community, like you said, for 41 years, and our responsibility is to that community. Now, obviously, as the CEO, you have to make sure that, you know, the lights are on and the bills are paid, and there's really a fine line in doing that.
Yeah, every nonprofit experiences that. There's always that administrative side,
exactly,
the less than pretty side.
Right, right. But that just, you know, that's my responsibility is to take that action on and to make sure that we're fiscally responsible with our funds, but also that we can find that nice mix to provide what the patients and the families need. The other thing I think is important when it comes to, you know, nonprofit is we oftentimes have a lot of staff and they come back to us as staff members because we've served someone in their family. And that's really important because for us as a nonprofit, it's not about these high numbers or, you know, all the different things that you might think of when you're thinking about the dollar signs and making money. The best part about what I do is seeing those staff members come back or volunteers come back and say, listen, you really touched my life or touched our lives in this way. I'm going to come back. I want to work for you. I believe in your mission and your culture. And that's really what it's all about for me.
Yeah, I think that's what really sets you guys apart is that people aspect because, as you mentioned, the rising cost of everything these days, that is the last thing that someone should have to worry about when they get that diagnosis or, you know, when they need that type of care. Yeah. So the fact that you guys are able to be with them every step of the way, regardless of what that is, I think is very important.
Yeah, thank you. You know, it's funny because obviously there are rules and regulations that everybody has to follow, and every hospice has the same rules and regulations. But it's real interesting to kind of watch how they differ in performing those. For instance, when I talk about our grief team, our bereavement team, we follow those survivors for 13 months. And that's not just one call. That is a couple of days after the death, they send a card. A week after that, they make a phone call. Then 2 weeks, then 3. I mean, we go above and beyond to make sure that what that patient needs is taken care of. And so for that, you know, I'm just really proud of what we do.
Yeah, and you kind of mentioned the grief support. You've mentioned the advanced illness care that you guys provide too. Mm-hmm. You guys have a wide variety of services that you've been able to expand over those last 41 years. Mm-hmm. So tell me a little bit about those additional services, because when people think Fairhope, they may think of hospice care, which has been the priority of the last 40 years, but there's a ton more that you guys offer as well.
Yeah, you're right. And hospice, I think, will always be that primary source. But the thing that we've realized and the thing that we're doing and growing, and I'll talk to you a little bit about the AIM clinic, is we are looking at all the pieces that fit in and go with that hospice care. For instance, we've had an office in Logan for a long time. Now it's downtown. It's a beautiful office, and that really is there for our staff to be able to meet the needs of Perry and Hocking County, and we're thankful for that. But when last August, we opened our AIM clinic, which is Advanced Illness Management. That building that we opened is strictly for our palliative patients. And so, you know, even the physicians sometimes in the community or all around, they use those two words, palliative and hospice, interchangeably, but they're very different.
Yeah, explain that just a little bit.
So, you know, we've had palliative care in our hospice program for 20 years. And we've driven to all 7 counties that we serve, and we've provided palliative care. We've used nurses and nurse practitioners. But the switch that we see now is palliative care is geared directly towards someone who has a chronic illness. So the difference between palliative services and hospice services, palliative care says that your physician said to you, you have an illness that is going to get worse. Is it going to be in 6 months? Do you have a terminal diagnosis? No, you don't. But you may have a diagnosis that in a couple of years, that may get to the point where you do need hospice care.
It's that type of illness that just doesn't go away then.
It is. Yeah. And it could be cancer, someone who's still receiving an early diagnosis, someone who is still receiving treatment. A lot of times it could be a breathing disorder like a COPD, a heart issue, those things. And a lot of our palliative patients, they're still actively receiving all kinds of treatment. Some of them are working. Some of them are, going on vacation and traveling. But the goal of that palliative clinic is to, one, keep them out of the hospital. They have this extra layer of nurse practitioners that work with their physicians to make sure that we can keep them out of the hospital, keep their symptoms under control, because oftentimes you see with those chronic illness, those symptoms, they exacerbate, they get worse, they end up in the hospital, and that's just really not good for anyone. It takes a while to get back on your feet when you've been in the hospital, and especially if you have that chronic illness.
It has both, not only that physical toll, but it can have a mental toll as well.
Absolutely. So our palliative clinic, it's at 1319 East Main Street. We're very fortunate to be there. We have a great relationship with Fairfield Medical Center.
Yeah, it's right there by the hospital.
It is, right around the corner. And we work with their oncology department, pulmonology, as well as a lot of the physicians in town. They'll call and say, listen, I have a patient who needs a little extra care. And what that looks like is we will bill your insurance. We're going to bill their insurance just like another specialist would be. Might be a small copay. And again, like we talked about, if they can't afford that, they just need to let us know. We can help them with that.
Yeah, having that peace of mind, really. That way, if they are going through the treatment, they haven't given that diagnosis, they can still enjoy life. That's the big difference.
That's exactly what we want. And that goes back to what you talked about earlier with the Celebrate Life. We want someone to celebrate their life early, knowing that we can't fix all those problems. But when that time comes, they've built so much trust into our palliative team that there's just a really smooth handoff right to our hospice team. And that's really what this is all about.
Yeah, so you mentioned the hospice care, the grief support, which is kind of a branch of that, and then, of course, the AIM clinic as well. Really a well-rounded group of services that you guys have procured over the last few years.
Yeah, thank you. I like to think so. And we've got a great team. We've got social workers, both palliative and hospice. We've got chaplains. We've got home health aides that are the best. And our volunteers, 130 volunteers, nobody has that.
You've got an army.
I know we do. It takes an army.
So we talked about the whole Celebrate Life. That's been the whole theme of Fairhope for the last 40 years. It's also, coincidentally, the theme of your guys' annual event that you guys host.
I know. It's right around the corner, May 1st.
I've got my tickets.
You better. So, we're so excited about that. And that's really turned into just such a fun event. Not only is it a great time for all my community friends and our partners to come together and just really celebrate with us that evening, maybe bid a little bit on some incredible items. We're going to have, again, our live auction. We have a virtual auction. But this is a nice evening, really, for me to just honor some folks, honor some people that are really close to Fairhope, close to my heart. And that, I think, is one of the best parts of the evening. So we have a little fun. We recognize and honor our friends in the community, and make a little bit of money for our memorial fund, which goes right back to taking care of our families.
Which is huge, by the way, that type of event. Last year was the first time that I was able to attend Celebrate Life. First time ever, and I had a blast. I know we won stuff. I know...
you did take home some stuff, didn't you?
Yes, I'm trying to think what it was. I think it was, funny enough, a Double Edge and a Combustion Brewery gift set.
Well, that's perfect.
I think we spent too much money on the night, but it all goes to a good cause.
That's right.
It all goes to a good cause.
That's right.
While it was gasping for breath by the end of the night. But I got some fun stuff. I still got a couple T-shirts that I still wear around the house. Yeah.
So I think so that is May 1st at the Mill Event Center. You can go to our website. There's a QR code. You can tap the button, go on. You need to purchase tickets if you're going to be there live that evening. And then once you get there, you can register to bid on the items. But here's the best part. The Tuesday before that, starting at 8 a.m., we're going to open up our virtual auction. And I'm telling you, there are so many wonderful things that are on there. So you can bid all the way up till Thursday night. If you'd rather just stay home and put your jammies on and have a drink and some dinner and bid from there, that's okay too. So we just want people to really enjoy the night, tune in, celebrate with us.
The bidding process does get intense, whether you're in person or sitting on your couch. It can get intense.
I'll tell you what, there are some competitive folks around here, but it is intense, and it's right till the very last minute, but it's so fun.
I will say I am a little glad that it does get so intense.
Why?
Otherwise, I would have spent a lot more money than I intended to at one point.
Well, I'm going to have to keep an eye on you that night and make sure that you're bidding things up.
At one point, we had almost $500 in the auction. I think we ended up with about 150.
That's okay. That's fair. I love it. Thank you. I know that you guys always are such a big supporter of Fairhope.
And that event's a lot of fun. So whether you're going to stay at home and bid online or come out to the event Thursday, May 1st, Mill Event Center, tickets online, fairhopehospice.org.
Yes.
Did I get the website correct?
You did. You got the website correct. And follow us on Facebook because we're posting the items. Every time an item comes in or a sponsorship, we're posting on there. So you can follow that event night and it'll take you right where you need to order tickets. So, just jump on and follow us along till then.
Awesome. Kristin Glasure, CEO of Fairhope Hospice and Palliative Care. Thank you so much for coming back.
Thanks, Logan. It's good to see you.
You've been listening to the Business Spotlight podcast presented by the Lancaster Fairfield County Chamber of Commerce.